dating this girl. And one day she just came up to me and she's like, I'm dating your best friend now, so I'm sorry.
Yo!
ruined
Like,
up
she
my
started
life
dating your
more
best friend
important.
because you were fat.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Dude, this guy fat shames me still.
Yeah. See, you can't do it because you were never fat, but I can because I was.
Yeah.
Cultural
Like,
appropriating.
exactly.
You know what? As a homage to all the thin kids. Hi guys, welcome back to This Is Not a Podcast. We have a new guest here, Mr. Kaiz Jaffer. I must say, Kaiz is one of the coolest names I've ever come across. Like, who cares, right?
Yeah,
He-
until 5 minutes ago, that was Kaiz.
So
My bad, bro.
he's a cat dad, a bedroom DJ. Is it a bedroom DJ or a bathroom DJ?
think you can do both.
Bedroom?
What is a bedroom DJ?
He DJs he loves DJing.
Like, I love DJing, but I don't do it like commercially,
Okay,
basically.
okay.
Yeah.
Unless there are people in his bedroom.
Or if I'm getting paid enough.
Okay. And most importantly, he's the creative director of one of our favorite brands, Urban Flux.
Yes, I'm
It's-
flexing my Urban Flux.
It's one of our favorite brands. That's one of my favorite T-shirts. And yeah, how do we know Kaiz? Like, what's the story?
Kaiz reached out to me like over 8-9 months ago.
I slid into his DMs.
Yeah, he slid into my DMs. I was like, damn. And we ended up working together. I met him first in Bombay. You were doing like you had like a pop up there, and you were doing
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
event. And yeah, my first thought was, fuck me, this guy is tall.
Yeah, for reference, Kaiz is really tall.
Yeah, like
you
if
can
he's-
look up.
Yeah, like if he stood up, you guys would see
I
his
mean, you're
knees
acting like
on
I'm
camera.
7 feet tall.
You guys are
I'm
you
like
were
6'3", bro. So it's
That's
Anything
close
above
enough.
6 or 7.
Yeah, fair. So yeah, that was like Kaiz is honestly like a dream client to have. He's one of those guys who's just like, hey man, do your thing. And yeah, like that's so rare in the space that we're in. So thank you so much, Kaiz. Thank you for being here.
No, of course. So I'll tell you about how I came across your content. I think like just like organically it showed up in my feed, and it was like one of the few content creators who actually had like some sort of like identity and whose content kind of like really stood out for me. Like so that's why I reached out to you, and since then
Thanks,
it's
man.
been fun working with you.
Yeah.
Since then.
Now say something nice about me also. Come on.
Oh yeah. So when I
Oh, yeah.
Well, that
Fine,
sounds like
if
an
you
afterthought, bro.
insist, if
Oh
you
yeah.
insist.
no. I mean, so when I told Aryan, like, and I was talking to Aryan about how, I really liked his content. He's like, bro, if you think my content is good, you need to meet my brother. So finally today, here we are with his brother, and
Yeah. Kaiz, tell us a little about it yourself, bro. Tell us what you do.
So yeah, I mean, can I start? I'll start with telling you guys about Urban Flux.
Yeah.
go for it.
and then about myself, because it's always really hard to kind of introduce yourself or talk about yourself. So I started Urban Flux when I was younger as a passion project, purely out of my own need for good, high quality t-shirts that had like good design. Because growing up, we didn't really have too many brands that we kind of like that I kind of was vibing with and that I really liked. And it started out as my own need, and the name came about because like Urban Flux kind of represents the dynamic yet monotonous like nature of city life, where you wake up, you have your breakfast, you go to work, you come back, you have your dinner, and then repeat. So it's like kind of monotonous yet dynamic. So it's like, and still sometimes we get kind of lost in the sauce. So that's how the name came about. And since we started the brand, like there were some things that, some ranges and stuff that really, were memorable for me. So one was like this jersey range we did, which did really well. Then was this mandala series we did, which also, like the people really responded well to. And then at some point, I kind of lost my direction, and that's when I kind of took a break.
So what, you design all your t-shirts, or do you work with a bunch of people? How does that work?
So a lot of the stuff initially was done by me because I was bootstrapping to a great extent. But now I have like a team of like me plus 3 other designers, and we work on like ideas collaboratively and kind of brainstorm together, fine tune stuff together, and that's why I feel like the the brand has also evolved a lot in terms of the aesthetic.
How
and
do you,
stuff.
but like, when you're working with like a team of like 3 people like that, how do you navigate sort of creative direction? Like, who has the last say? Things like, or like, whose idea is the best? Like, how do you guys assess that?
So the thing is that I mean, we have a pretty democratic process, even though it shouldn't be, but we do. But yeah, actually, like we always like so how we go about it is like, so we first, somebody comes up with a concept. So obviously the concept has to be in line with our core philosophy. Then we kind of fine tune the concept together, decide the kind of graphics and like copy we want to have on it, and then like somebody takes the lead on it, followed by which we kind of sit down together and then give our feedback, fine tune it, and then finally make the product kind of come to life. So of course, to a great extent, it is intuitive, but at the same time, I'll give you another example in terms of the design part. Like the when we are selecting the yellow we want to do, because we only do like black and yellow right
So
now.
this yellow you're talking about.
Exactly,
Okay,
this
okay.
yellow. So we were kind of not sure between these 3 shades of yellow. So I sent out like pictures of the shade card to like 30 of my close people who I'm close to, like friends and people whose opinion I respect. And then after we kind of collected the votes, we went for this one. And just look at how good it's looking on you today, bro.
I feel like most of my friends would have been like, "Hey, bro, these are all the same color." Like, I don't fucking get it.
I'll tell you a fun fact about myself, that even though I'm a designer, I'm colorblind. So,
Oh.
I mean, it's not like everything looks grey to me, but like if in a painting you show me like 30, 40 different colors, then I'll just be like not even try. You know what I mean?
So you're not even racist, like.
Not at all, bro.
You can't.
Even if he wanted to be, he couldn't.
You all look the same
He
to
looked,
me.
everybody's
No,
separate
like
to
our
him.
dad is also colorblind, and he wanted to
yeah?
go to the Navy, and he wasn't
No, Air
allowed.
Force, Air Force.
No,
Yeah.
Chacha was in the Air Force. but
I
all
think you
were
can't
Navy.
be a pilot if you're colorblind.
Yeah, you can't be a pilot.
Navy also?
Because everything is blue.
Met.
No, no.
Everything is blue.
Wow.
So, but there's also a lot of people for whom, then how do you make decisions like this? Like, what color works best? Like, yellow, you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell, but the thing is, if it's like a yellow that's going too close to like that green area, then maybe it could create some complication.
Okay.
But that's why I have a team with me.
Yeah,
So
that's
to
why
tell
it's a
you, hey,
democratic
that's
process.
that's not red, that's blue.
But
it's not that bad. It's
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, what do you say?
no, you mentioned that you have a philosophy that sort of is where everything comes together.
Yeah.
What is that philosophy?
Great question,
Yeah.
actually. So like I was telling you guys, there was this one point of time where I had kind of lost my sense of direction as to what I was trying to achieve with the narrative I was having with the brand. And for me, Urban Flux was always about like doing something I was proud of and seeing a story that that was not driven by purely by capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
So in like this was like in 2021 maybe, where I mean COVID was happening. My family business was not in the best place because we are into offline retail. We have our stores in malls, and our rents were kind of going on while the business wasn't really
Yeah.
happening as such. So and obviously like I don't know if I mentioned, but Urban Flux started off as a passion project. So a passion project in some way is like you need to be in a good place to kind of take care of that, right? Like to kind of
Fund it, basically.
fund it and also like
Look after it, just
look after
day
it,
to
be
day.
creative
Hmm.
and like nurture it.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, like I was telling some of my boys from school that I'm planning to like not do this anymore. And these are the guys who like any opportunity we get to kind of like put each other down, we'll take it. Like I mean, obviously it's out
The
of
boys.
Those are the best
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
friendships.
Your closest friends.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of them were like, dude, the t-shirts that I got from you like 5 years ago are in better condition than some of the t-shirts I've got from like a Nike or like a Supreme or like some of the bigger brands that are
Yeah.
like internationally known.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if these guys are genuinely telling me that, the quality was good and like I was onto something, maybe I should kind of figure out how to kind of make this fun for myself. And then I realized that it all came down to identity, because like any great brand, like a brand like Nike or like a brand like Apple or a brand like any of the greatest brands in the world that you see, it all starts with like the identity, that kind of the why that defines the what and the how, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we went on the search for identity. And considering like I'm from Bombay, and Bombay is one of the most chaotic cities in the world, we ended up on Calm Through Chaos, because that's something I felt was like very powerful and very universal. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's how we found our purpose.
But so I've always wanted to start a t-shirt brand, and we tried to do something like recently.
Yeah.
It might have crashed and burnt. It's burning right now. We're fixing the wreck.
It's in the ashes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're fixing the wreck, so we'll go live again. But how hard is it? Because how hard is it to start a clothing brand?
And
like,
what is the toughest part of the entire process? Because it's not just designing, right? Like there's a entire mechanism.
because
I mean-
I feel like for a lot of people, like in India, especially after like liberalization, and people like like the middle class started having money,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people are really into fashion, so people want to spend money. So we have our set brands, but then like homegrown Indian brands are really popping up, and it's almost everybody's dream to start a brand where
Yeah, I mean,
I can't imagine how proud the feeling is if you're wearing your own t-shirt and you're walking around, which is
yeah, I
like,
mean,
it's-
I feel like earlier there used to be like struggling actors. Now they're struggling designers.
yeah.
Because, like being a designer is like the new what being an actor used to be,
Yeah.
because it seems so glamorous, and I guess it is once you are up there. But at the same time, I feel like to a certain extent, answering your question about how hard it is, I feel like today, like fashion is commoditized, right? Like there is no like rational need that you can solve better than like a H&M or a Zara or a West Side. So in that sense, there is no space in the world for another T-shirt brand
Mm-hmm.
per se. But at the same time, the world is always open to a new narrative. Like, so that's why we are not trying to sell T-shirts. We are trying to sell the idea of calm through chaos, and our T-shirts are just touch points where people can kind of interact with that messaging. So if you have a narrative that can actually add value to somebody's
Yeah.
life in some way, or just make someone smile, or just basically have a conversation with people that actually is relevant to them, I think there's no reason why you shouldn't do it.
And I think that works even in the content space, right? Like for each
Definitely, yeah.
content creator, if you don't have an identity, you don't have that.
Very forgettable. Yeah.
Yeah, you're very forgettable. People want to connect with you on a personal level, right? Which is why you do what you're doing, right? And which is why Aryan does what he's doing. So I think
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
And also, I think you asked what is the most difficult thing about doing what you're doing. Of course, like deciding like why you're doing it. And the second most difficult thing, which I think you guys have already managed to crack, is building distribution.
Hmm.
So I feel like the part of building distribution is what people don't really consider, because you can have the best product in the world, but it's like having the best store in the middle of a desert. If nobody can like see it, like nobody's gonna know about it. So
Speaking of which, you recently opened a store. Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
It's in Bandra.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like opening a store after working on this for so long, and the process of opening up a store? And
So actually, it was honestly like one of the most proud moments for me as like a founder as the founder of Urban Flux, because it was obviously like every time you start a like e-commerce business, you always think like eventually that's the dream, right? And for us, it kind of happened in a way where it was like we did a lot of pop-ups, and at every pop-up we did, what we realized is that people like online, there's so much clutter in the like through media messaging, or like just ads or products or XYZ, that people don't really have that attention span to even listen. You know what I mean? But when we did our pop-ups, what we realized was that people actually came and they were like, they love the quality of the product, and even the interaction we had with people, where like we told them about the concepts we have and like elements of our identity, and they really resonated very strongly with those elements. And like it was online as well as offline. It's a different thing that those guys now they message me and ask me for like discount codes.
of course,
But that customer interaction that we had offline, also the events that we did offline, also like everything that we felt like we were enjoying the most was like stuff that we did offline.
Hmm.
So it just
it's
made
much
a lot
more
of sense.
tangible. So it's much more
tangible.
Yeah.
Much more tangible. At the same time, like I feel like even in terms of the design of the space, like I feel like because like we have our core philosophy, which is like our guiding staff sort in place. Even when we design the store, like the layout, it's kind of like a rectangular layout, and there's like a beam in somewhere in the middle. So as soon as I saw the space, like the only thing I thought of is like I want to do half in calm and half in chaos.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
And
Oh,
literally
wow.
everyone who comes to the store is like, oh, how did you design this? And like literally took me less than 5 minutes to just think about what
because
I
it's
want
so
to do.
natural. Because I
So
feel like
natural,
once
yeah.
when your brand has a purpose and when your brand has identity, those decisions are much easier to make because it's like you know what you want and you know who you are. When you don't know what you are, you don't know who you are. That's when all these questions pop up and you don't have any direction. You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just like a personal question about you, like since I feel like you're a perfect person to ask this. When you're shopping for yourself, like you're buying t-shirts or you're buying clothes, what do you look for in a brand?
Interesting. So, I mean, I feel like to a great extent, like, I mean, more now than ever. I mean, when I was younger, I only wanted something that like fit me well, or like, that I like the design of. But as even my tastes and my like preferences have evolved, I feel like I want to buy things from brands that stand for something. It can be anything, like something like sustainability, or it can be like a narrative. Like another brand that I really like, an Indian brand, is this brand called WIP,
Okay.
which is
I am W.
I am WIP. It basically means
I'm
I'm a work in
Work in
progress.
progress.
So their
I don't know
narrative
why I
is-
read that as I am a pimp.
I'm a whip.
Or a wimp. I'm a work in progress. Oh, I
Yeah.
never
I'm-
heard,
I'm a work
heard
in
about
progress.
this.
So it's also like similar to like our messaging from the point of view. It's about like accepting the fact that as humans we're always evolving, and
Yeah.
like like a little bit more esoteric kind of narrative that the kind of appeals to people who want to move beyond the hype, because
Mm.
I feel like beyond a certain point the hype just becomes too shallow, and like like I don't know, I feel like people are more intelligent, like people get more intelligent as they have those experiences to realize that the fulfillment they can get from something a bit more evolved would definitely be higher.
What do you
So, yeah.
What do you think about Blue Orange?
He's like, I don't think about
Where's my I prefer not to speak.
Okay, we know he definitely watches the podcast.
I saw
Yeah,
I had to do my homework.
Nice. No, but
No, wait. I want an
oh,
answer,
okay.
bro.
Those cards don't exist
Those
anymore
cards
for
don't
a
exist
reason.
anymore.
So I mean, I think they're doing incredibly well. They have like a great style of visual communication, and their graphic design is incredible.
But what do you think? Like, what do you think worked out for them? Because I feel like they
So
didn't
I
take that
think
much time.
It's a mix of. I think definitely they have a very strong visual identity. I personally don't know what they stand for, like on a philosophy level, but see,
I don't think they
identity-
stand. I mean, they
Yeah,
don't really stand
I mean,
for
I don't
anything.
think they.
Blue
yeah,
oranges.
yeah, but like
It's
like,
hype, basically.
it's hype to a great extent, but it's also like when I think of hype, I think of like Ed Hardy. So I wouldn't want to put Blue Orange in that category. Let's be a little
Yeah.
kinder to them. But like what I feel is like it's some sort of identity. Like it stands for something. Like you see a T-shirt, you know it's Blue Orange. That also is identity. But you could do that with Ed Hardy as well. But yeah, that's why
So you like or no like?
I bought
Okay.
a couple of T-shirts myself, also to see like.
what
Like-
the competition is doing.
He's had a few bad run-ins with them.
I mean, when I discovered Blue Orange, it was a very small brand.
Yeah.
And like I feel like this is like maybe right after the pandemic, like when the borders opened and everything.
Okay.
So like whenever you see ads of T-shirts online, it's usually like I bought a lot of stuff and it's all been shit. But they were like the first brand where the quality kind of matched with what was.
And he's very
Yeah.
anal about quality
yeah,
also.
yeah, I'm like
Which is
too
why
a-
Urban Flux is such a...
yeah, I'm too anal. So that was nice. Like their like T-shirts were nice. But I also like people are so like I don't really care about sustainability. I'm being very honest there.
Yeah.
But I like things which last a long time. So in a way, I'm
But
sustainable.
that's sustainability.
Yeah,
right?
that is sustainability.
Yeah.
But I'm not like
He doesn't
He's
like
not
to say
vocally-
I'm not
he's a
woke about.
closeted he's a closeted sustainability.
So
he's just like trying to figure if he wants to.
Yeah.
so for example, I don't want to buy like 1,500 T-shirts which
Yeah.
will last like I don't know 5
days,
wears.
yeah.
And like 2 months later, you have to dispose them. I love stuff which last a very long time.
Yeah.
And
Because
I
it
feel
becomes a
like-
part of your identity then. Like, I
Yeah,
feel like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like most brands fail that. Even the bigger ones like Nike, like it's
No,
like
so there are two reasons for this. So one is like I realize that many brands they want the product that you're wearing to go bad soon, so,
So that
that
they
it
can-
increases the lifetime value that they can get from you. And the second thing is like many
no
people
increases
just
the lifetime value. Isn't like if I buy a Nike T-shirt, they want it to get spoiled fast so that
so
you
you
go
can
my
keep buying again
okay,
and
yeah,
again and
yeah,
again.
yeah.
And the second thing is that half the people don't know what quality is. Like, for me, I mean, like I am lucky to be, come from my family business background is in handcrafted shoes. So we do a lot of like wedding footwear and like stuff that customized stuff. And like my dad is like a perfectionist to the level extent that if it's not perfectly made, he'll literally tear it apart and give it back to the guy and be like, dude, make it properly, or don't bring it to me until it's perfect. So like in a way, quality has been, I mean, it's in my DNA.
It's prime, basically.
Yeah, like I don't mean to sound like arrogant about it, but at the same time, the thing is, it's also like how you've been. Like I've been lucky to see the importance of quality, and obviously like monkey see monkey do, right? So I've seen my dad be so particular about it, all throughout my life. So it's something that if it's not quality, I don't want to do it.
So
And
what are the hallmarks of like a quality T-shirt? Like, how do you know when you see a T-shirt in a store? How do you know it's good quality? Like for the people.
see, the thing is, obviously like there are T-shirts that you can't tell how good the quality is until you wash it. So
Okay.
what we do is like, I mean, a fabric can look good, but then you can only tell after you wash it, like how much the bleeding is, how much the shrinkage is, X, Y, Z. So like in a store, you might not be able to tell because you can also have these washes on the garment that make it seem really soft. But for us, like every time, so we also develop our own like knits to kind of make sure for the breathability and for the kind of to allow them to be breathable in a city like Bombay, which is quite hot. And also we tested, we like run it through like multiple cycles of washing and just like to see that the color is not bleeding, the fabric is not shrinking, and everything of that sort is in place.
Okay.
Nice.
But then, okay, so just this is for personal research, but like when you want to start a clothing brand, I'm assuming the first thing to do is to find a person who has like raw material and
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you can make those
Suppliers, yeah.
supplier.
Yeah.
So how did you go about that process and how hard was that? Like
So,
this is for all the people who want to start a business, like basically your competitors in the future.
I'll tell you myself, I'm happy. Like I feel like anyone who's saying a story that's interesting, they can join the like they're most welcome to kind of like, I mean, I'm no one to kind of welcome them, but like, you know what I mean. Like so how I went about it. So I'll tell you how I got into this. So when I used to work, like after I finished my undergrad, I joined my dad. I joined Deutsche Bank for like 3 months, and I kind of realized that
As what? Like what did you do for them?
like I was just like doing an internship.
Okay,
like,
okay.
Like,
Okay.
like as in, like to become like an analyst or whatever.
Okay.
But within those 3 months, honestly, like for half the time I was just playing pool outside, and then for the rest of the half I was just thinking about how I can never do this in my life.
Fuck, this is exactly me at EY.
No, it was terrible. It was like if I think of torture, that was torture for me. First of all, it was so far away. Anyways, so then I joined my dad in his business, and for the like I used to basically, because we manufacture our own shoes, so I was spending like most of my time on the factory floor with the craftsmen. At that time, my dad told me, he's like, see, I never ended up doing my MBA because I got into the business. He's like, this is one thing you have to do for me. And he's like, don't get so involved in the business that when you leave, I feel a vacuum, or that you can simply not leave because you're so involved in the business. So which was great in a way, because you're like, if you want to do something else, explore it.
So he's like, do a good job,
like
but
no
not,
strings.
not do so much of a good job.
Yeah. It's like no strings. That's actually a really sweet deal. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my dad is actually like, I mean, we also like obviously we work together, so we also fight every now and then. But at the same time, he's one of the most like loving and supporting and like egoless people. Like he genuinely doesn't have an ego, especially when it comes to his family and stuff. But yeah, so that's when I kind of started exploring, because you're like, do something else with your time, like if you want to do something. And like I told you guys, I always love t-shirts. So what I would do is I would also get like after 2 hours at the factory, I would get a little bored. So I'd be like, okay, that's it for today. So I would head out to like industrial estates around where our factory was, and just start asking people like, does anyone make t-shirts here? Literally, like this was before Google was also. I mean, I sound like 100-year-old. I'm 32, but like what I mean is like that time I was like, this is like maybe like what 12 years ago, 11 years ago. So it wasn't what it is now. Like you would get some leads, but it would be very few leads, and like even the like it was not as easy as it is today. As it is today. So it started off by going to the industrial estates. I literally had like I went to like 13 to 14 different factories until I found my guy, because some guys quality was not good enough, some guys price was not good enough, some guys my quantities were not good enough for them, some guys were just assholes. Like it was like a mix of different things until finally I found my guy. And it was during that process only I asked the guys like where are the best fabric guys, and they kind of led me to the guys who I buy from now, which obviously I'm not going to tell you.
Fuck!
Nice.
I was like holding my breath. I was like, "Fuck, finally that answer will come."
But yeah, it just seems so tedious a process. But I guess, I mean, if you, like you said, it's a passion project, so you clearly love what you're doing.
No, I
What's
mean,
your
I-
favorite part of the process? What's your least favorite part of the process?
so
Start with your least favorite process.
it's too many very like which one should I answer first?
Least. Like, what's the
The
thing you
least-
hate most? Like, you despise.
So honestly, I don't hate anything as such, because like I mean, in a way, it's my happy place, right? So
Okay.
like, there's nothing about it that I hate. I can tell you things that I find challenging. So one of the most challenging things would be, obviously, now not anymore, because now we have a good team that's come together. The one of the most challenging things for me to do was to get the right talent, together and to work with me. But for that, like once I found my purpose and once I kind of created that culture with the first few people in my team, then they automatically got some like of their friends to join. So that means we're doing something right. Another challenge is that, of course, like social media is in a communist state with like Mark Zuckerberg is like Kim Jong Un of social media. Like
Pretty much,
he
yeah.
literally like controls everything. As a brand that's trying to build distribution with digital marketing, what other options do I have? Okay, yeah, you have YouTube, but like that's also like I feel like long form in a way. Yes, it is the holy grail, but at the same time, like how do you kind of, because people want like quick
They want
ways to
dopamine.
kind of
Yeah.
like get that fix or whatever fix they're looking for. So I feel that is a huge challenge that we face. Another challenge that we face is like at some level I feel our Indian people are still colonized in their mindset, where they'll be happy to pay like I'll give you an example about gossip. Okay, there have been customers who come into our store with a Birkin.
For reference, Gossip is the.
It's the footwear brand.
Okay.
So they come in with like a Birkin, which is like a few $1,000s, and then they come and they're like, we sell shoes for like 3K, 4K, 5K. So they'll see a pair of shoes for like 5K and they'll be like, why is that so expensive? And just because it's an Indian product, and just because they don't take into consideration it's a handcrafted product, it's embroidered, overheads, X, Y, Z. But I feel that is a big mindset issue that we have, but I see that changing a lot with our generation.
No, but that
so
issue is so persistent, because even like simple example is if I call someone for a job
yeah,
and I have an accent
yeah.
versus me not having an accent, the person with the accent is more likely to
Yeah.
just get that job,
Yeah.
right? So
Depends on the accent. If it's like Tamil. Yeah, அப்படியா?
wow, really? You're not colorblind.
Have you guys seen that video that Shashi Tharoor did, in which he talks about India pre the
Yeah.
British?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So right? Basically, they stole like how many, $4 trillion or $40 trillion from us. I don't know the
Massive
number.
amount.
lot of
yeah.
money.
But more than that, I feel like they stole our pride, dude.
Yeah.
And that is like, that's something that we gotta do our bit
But
to kind of.
See, like, and I feel like this, like, I keep hearing it from different industries. For example, recently we worked closely with ISL, which is the
Indian
football
Super
league
League.
in
Yeah.
India. So they were telling me that, kids in India, especially from a certain class, they are very keen on following like La Liga and Serie A and the English Premier League. But when it comes to their own league, which is in their own country with their own players, they suddenly find it shy to support them, or they don't have the time to support them, or they don't have the interest to support
Yeah,
them.
it's like a weird inferiority.
So it's like, I mean, how is the ISL worse than the Premier League in the sense that the stadiums are packed, the football quality is good. So I feel like that switch is important. But in India, I guess it takes time. So yeah, I feel like Indians have that mentality that anything abroad
It's
be-
just
be
superior.
it
Better.
brands, be it
Yeah.
like entertainment, even like kids who listen to like music,
Yeah.
like they just think that Bollywood
Yeah.
music or
How is Travis Scott any better than A.R. Rahman?
he's
I
not.
mean, you can't even
It's true.
compare the two.
So actually, I realized how strong this phenomena is when I went to Madrid for my MBA. So what I assumed before going there, I mean, lack of exposure, or whatever you want to call it, maybe. But basically, I thought like all white people spoke English. That was like a misconception that I had. When I went there, I realized that if you didn't try to talk to the people in Madrid in Spanish, they just said no hablas English. But the second you try to make an effort with them to talk to them in their language, they would all like kind of go out of their way to help you, give you directions. And then
Yeah.
I realized that all these guys were like colonists, right? So they all had their colony, so they had that sense of pride. And that's when I was like, I mean, unfortunately, in certain, it's like, people don't feel proud to speak in Hindi,
Yeah.
which is, I find that, like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not gonna, like, I'm not excluding myself from that, but like, I just, like, it's sad to see that we've been robbed of our own pride, right, to a certain extent.
No,
I think the
and
solution is to colonize somebody.
ये अंग्रेज चूतिया है ये अंग्रेज चूतिया है
चूतिया लोग हैं।
वो चूतिया लोग हैं।
no, but I understand what you're saying because I used to be so, and it's horrible now that I think of it.
अबे हिंदी में बात कर
But I used to.
इंग्लिश में बोल रहा है
ये आकन भारत है.
Y'all both don't know Hindi properly. Please.
तू वापस मालदीव्स जा तू वापस मालदीव्स जा
No, so it used to be such a big issue. I would be embarrassed if my parents would speak to me in anything but English in front of my friends.
तू एक बड़ा लाल फ्लैग है
लाल झंडा
लाल झंडा
I mean, the fact that we're doing this podcast in English, that in itself,
ये तू कर रहा है मैं हिंदी में बात कर रहा हूँ
ये तू कर रहा है.
मैं अगले हफ्ते हिंदी में करने वाला हूँ।
किधर नहीं कुछ नहीं बोलना अभी
Don't want to promote other podcasts on this
Yeah,
podcast. So.
But yeah. No, it is sad that we don't have one language to unify us like that.
but wait when you were in Madrid did you watch any of the football games there?
Yeah, so my friend, so you know what they, I mean, I don't know, you guys, what do you guys support? Like Atletico or like, I mean, Real or
Kerala
Barcelona?
Blasters.
Yeah.
So like, you know what they say? Like, so my friend was like a local, and he said like, Real Madrid is for the world, but Atletico is for the people.
So that's exactly the same with United and City.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who used to study there. So he's like the people in Manchester, it's Manchester City,
Yeah.
and for the world, it's Manchester United.
Yeah. So we went for quite a few Atletico games. We saw like
Which
I
year
saw
was this?
Messi. This was 2016, 17. So I
Wait,
think
this is one of the years they won, or they had just
2016
won.
they won the
think so,
Champions
yeah.
League.
I mean, honestly,
No,
I
they
was
qualified.
really into football until I wasn't. I think when Mourinho left like Chelsea, I was just heartbroken. Like I just couldn't deal with that because I loved them both too much and I couldn't choose, So then I just stopped watching football.
This is the
And-
same thing with him in Ronaldo
Yeah.
leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't. Like, I was too like that whole thing. Like, it just felt right, when they were together, Chelsea and Mourinho. And as soon as he left, I literally just overnight. Then I went into a phase where I was kind of like switching between clubs, and like my friends were like really upset because then I started supporting Man City, and then Man City started doing well. And after like I started supporting them right before
Kaiz,
they
you're a
started doing
whore.
well. That's exactly what they did. they called me shit like glory hunt and stuff. And I was like,
No, they
whatever.
said you're a whore, and he's like, who cares?
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, but I mean, it was just like I just couldn't deal with that pain,
But
But,
okay.
Wait a
so
minute, talking
speaking
about loyalty.
No, but like okay, like since you're not loyal with
Come on.
football clubs,
Yeah.
no, but
Where is
don't
this
you
question
think?
going?
No, don't you
He's
think
married.
loyalty? No, don't you think loyalty is a big part of building a brand? Like, for instance, even like when it comes to football, right? Like, I see these guys being diehard supporters of a club, whether the club is doing well or not.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with brands, I feel, right?
No, for sure. Like I feel like in today's day and age, it is so much harder to build loyalty because like a lot of these brands have like or companies have loyalty programs, but the thing is that you can't program loyalty, right? Because like it always starts with like what can we get from the customer? That's what they're thinking. But I feel like brands need to start being more loyal to the customers and like start thinking about what value they can add to the customer's life that goes beyond like purely having a capitalistic approach. That's why we do things like Urban Flux Radio, where every week we release a set that a DJ comes and records at our store, and we put it on our YouTube page because that's how we find our calm through chaos. And like just sharing that with our community is our way of like kind of like showing them that we care, and hopefully like them seeing that like that we actually are giving them something without anything return
Yeah.
expected in return.
It's more than just the product, basically.
It's more than just the product.
It's about a community.
Community and kind of tying that community with like your purpose, right? Like today, I can't have a. Actually, it can mean different things to different people, but yeah, community.
Is there one person that is like your dream customer? Like you see this person wearing this t-shirt, man or woman or any gender, wearing your t-shirt, and you're like, fuck, I made it. Like, fuck, Urban Flux.
Honestly, not really. I mean, I don't have anyone in mind as such, but I mean, I know you guys want me to say Ronaldo, but no, I don't have anyone as such in mind. But
But if you had to think of one person, like anybody, just like first person who
Tough.
comes to mind.
I just can't answer that question. It's tough for me.
Lata Mangeshkar.
That's a win.
I mean, I know you can't. This is maybe giving him way too much importance, but like I was very happy when we did a collab with Aryan because I really loved his content.
Oh
You
my
are giving me way too much.
Yeah, you are giving him
importance.
way too much importance.
No, but it's just because like see, like I mean, I don't care if somebody has like 10 million followers or 1,000 followers, but if it's more in line with what we are trying to kind of tell as part of our story, that matters more to us than just like the reach. And maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I don't want to kind of go into the whole getting funding thing, because then my approach has to turn to much more capitalistic mindset approach, and like branding and capitalism kind of go hand in hand, but on many levels they have like conflicting objectives, I feel.
But what if one day you wake up and suddenly you like open Instagram and it's viral biryani or like Woompla and
Ranveer Singh is wearing.
Virat Kohli is just walking the airport wearing.
Yeah, he'd be a good. No, I'd repost that, man.
Virat Kohli gets a repost.
That was calm through Kia.
Yeah.
Just repost that.
I'd like it even.
And yeah, I'll tag him, but obviously
You'll even tag, bro. You're too sweet, huh?
That
That's too
exposure
much.
that you have given him, bro. You're a real one. Loyalty is there.
That's crazy, bro.
Nice.
yeah. So
But okay, speaking about capitalism versus purpose, right? Like your social purpose or whatever. Like hype wear and streetwear is very different from what your brand does, right? Because
yes,
You're not a hype beast brand.
yeah. I mean, of course, one day hopefully we will be featured there, because
No,
the thing
not.
is,
I mean, hype beast.
we
I
have
meant
a
like
hype
a.
first, yeah. So like, so in like streetwear, what I like about streetwear is that it kind of democratizes fashion, and it allows anyone who has like a narrative in mind to kind of express themselves or like have a conversation with their audience. But at the same time, unfortunately, to a great extent, if you see the situation today, it's driven predominantly by hype, right? Like if you look at a brand like Anti-Social Social Club, like what is that even about?
Bro, but the t-shirts are such shit quality.
Shit quality, but I mean I wouldn't even reach that point. I'm saying just if you look at it from a purpose or like a brand point of view, what do they stand for? Okay, I get what they stand for, but like what I mean is like what next? Like for to kind of have like a sustainable.
But that founder sold the company. No, I don't think they stand for like. I mean, they didn't. They really stood for like
money.
kids who are antisocial
Yeah.
and like hype.
Yeah.
Because that guy
Yeah.
was supposed to be a weirdo, but like
Yeah.
after Kanye wore that
Yeah.
and went hype,
Yeah.
he sold the company, and then like now it's just shit t-shirts. But
Yeah.
like I guess people wear it once in a while.
Yeah. No, for sure. So like what I was trying to say is that see, there's hype on one side, and there's identity, and this actually reminds me of this book that I came across called "Influence is Your Superpower" by Zoe Chance. I'm sure you guys it influences you guys' superpower. But so in that book, she talks about like the behavioral economic system 1 and system 2. So system 1 is the gator within you, which is like alligator, and system 2 is the judge. So in that book, she says like majority of our actions are kind of taken by the gator within us, because that's more subconscious, more like irrational and faster. So it's like more like it responds to like a stimulus in the environment, whereas the judge is more rational, more like conscious and a slower decision maker. So unfortunately, in most of us, all the judges trying to do is kind of validate what the gator's preferences are.
Mm.
And I feel like hype falls into that category where like it's like just like, oh, he's wearing it, so I want to wear it, or like only there are only 100, so I want to have it. So it's a more like
It's a
like-
fleeting.
it's a fleeting thing. But I also feel like as time goes by and as people evolve, as their tastes evolve, as their kind of preferences and even they evolve as people, like they're looking for more purpose, right? Because like I mean I can already see it, like people are slowly moving away from fast fashion, even though it might be like $1,000 cheaper. Like they'd rather have something that means something and stands for something rather
Yeah.
than something that's just cheap and that's gonna basically fade away or like start tearing within like 4 or 5 washes. So yeah, I think like
Which is why I think like vintage, like thrifting, vintage fashion
Yeah.
came so into the
Popular,
fore,
yeah.
in the 2020s, because it is clothes that have lasted a while. It's clothes from
No,
that
for
are
sure.
vintage, like Levi's jeans,
yeah.
your
There's history to it,
your
basically,
Carhartt,
yeah.
yeah, all of those brands. It's stuff that that has value culturally, but also is very durable.
It's durable, so then it kind of is sustainable, right? Because that's one part of it. Also, it's also in a way exclusive, right? Because the problem with fast fashion is like why I haven't personally shopped from any of these brands in a while is like, you know, you wear like for example, you buy a printed shirt from Zara. You go to like an event, you see like one
3
other guy
people.
wearing,
Yeah.
or like two
Yeah.
other guys. You like literally, I would want to just like I don't know, like it's just not a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, we are individuals, and like fashion to a great extent is a way we kind of project our individuality, right? Like we kind of express ourselves. Like we all have like this certain kind of like idea of ourselves that we want to project towards other people, and that's why I feel the hype stuff. Like at some level, people are gonna understand how stupid they look when they just wear a T-shirt that just says something or like
Like Supreme with the box.
yeah,
logo.
Supreme. If you want to be nice, I would. If you want to be, but yeah, let's say Supreme for this example. But like you see that happening, right? Even in the West, like brands that were super hyped at one point are not that hyped anymore. Like and brands like Supreme have gotten like funded by like bigger brands. I think LVMH, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, at that level, they kind of obviously have sold everything that they stood for because they were about the counterculture and they were about like, you know, like the underground lifestyle and stuff like that. And selling out is literally the opposite of that, right?
Mm.
But that's the danger about capitalism, right? And the world we live in that sense.
But yeah, I also feel like with hype, it obviously never lasts because that's what hype is.
For sure.
It's just the next trend. It's just the next
as
big
a,
shoes.
Yeah, Supreme as a brand or like Lacoste as a brand. Like Lacoste is a classic forever.
Yeah.
Like you wear a polo with that fucking crocodile symbol, like they know what T-shirt it is,
Yeah.
and that's a classic forever because they're not built on the hype. They're built on the legacy and the quality and whatnot. But like when you're based on hype, it's like maybe 3, 4, 5 years of
It's just instant gratification
And
and
then
not
you're-
a-
But it's
Yeah.
also, I feel like now brands like that, like Lacoste, have had to sort of redesign themselves to be more accessible. Like Lacoste with Converse, or Coperni with Puma, or Jacquemus with Nike. So you also need to find a middle ground where you're not so
out of reach.
out of reach to the people like people like me. Like I wouldn't ever buy Coperni on its own, but if it's
Yeah.
like a Coperni shoe,
who
it's
the
Puma.
fuck is Coperni?
Coperni is like
Some
is like a cool designer.
Oh, okay.
It's like a fashion house types.
Okay.
So
No, for sure. I mean, those guys are like their prices are like
Different.
in another league.
Yeah.
I mean, we are like obviously not in that bracket, but I get what you mean. Like, it's like even they kind of at some point want to
be more accessible.
be more accessible and drive people into their funnel. Like maybe somebody who buys like a H&M X, who did they collab with?
Sabyasachi.
Sabyasachi collab, would want to buy Sabyasachi, but could probably afford to do so only maybe 10 years later.
Mm.
But it's in a way like they've joined the journey of the brand, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like based on what you were saying about the Lacoste, the crocodile, like I'll give you an example of Nike and like why I feel like at the end of the day, like a brand should not just be like taking care of like a need of like providing you with clothing. Okay, so like when I used to live with my parents when I was a little younger, I would wake up, get ready for the gym, and my mom would force me to eat breakfast. And obviously, you can't really say no to your mom, right? So then I would eat breakfast, I would get lazy, but I would sit on the couch and then I would just be like, okay, fuck it, maybe I won't go to the gym today. But then I would already be in my gym clothes, and just seeing that tick on my shorts would kind of push me to go to the gym, because it
Just
creates that
do it.
association of just do it.
Damn.
And to me, that is the power of a brand, right? Like Supreme could never really do that for anyone. At least the way, I mean,
No, it can't. Definitely
can't.
cannot. Yeah.
but and that's why I feel today Nike, why Nike has kind of stood out compared to its competitors like Reebok or Adidas or any of the other guys. What does Adidas even stand for? Any idea?
Impossible, is nothing.
Impossible is
Ah,
nothing.
sorry. Yeah.
All day
Okay,
dream
yeah,
about
yeah.
shoes.
Yeah. So like, what I mean is Nike, like they really.
Nike is more profound in that space
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, Nike is more like, for example, Puma does really well, but like
Yeah.
I don't know what fucking Puma stands for.
It's
But
that animal.
Nike,
Yeah, it's an
there.
it's animal is there, but like it
but
doesn't
Nike
stand
has
for
that's what
anything.
Nike has so many times transcended, like being a brand. Like that
Yeah.
iconic ad with Tiger Woods, or
Yeah,
like so
yeah.
many iconic moments. They make it. It's not about Nike. It's about that moment, and I feel like that's how they've transcended
Yeah, transcended like
being a brand.
And like you spoke about the Tiger Woods thing, like it stood for the just do it. I mean, it's a different thing. Tiger Woods just did a lot
Just
of
did
things.
it. Oh, they ended their relationship.
Yeah, 2 days
like,
back.
But
they
like,
announced
what I mean is that just do it. Like, I feel like why it was so powerful was that that message is so universal. Like,
Yeah.
it could apply to somebody who's procrastinating. It could apply to somebody who wants to like ask a girl out. It could apply to somebody who wants to go for a workout. And the universality of that message is what makes it so powerful,
Mm.
right? And like, it would apply to you in a different way than it would apply to me. And like giving the people also a chance to read between the lines kind of gives them their own take on your brand's purpose.
And it
And
also gives you a little more ownership to interpret that message the way you want to
definitely,
interpret it. so.
Definitely, yeah. And I feel like that's the beauty of like even Calm Through Chaos for that
Yeah.
matter of fact. Like as a entrepreneur, obviously you have to be calm through chaos. As a somebody who works in the gig economy, you have to be calm through chaos. As a musician, like I mean, same thing as gig economy, but like what I mean is, as a doctor, you have to be calm through chaos. So like
Yeah.
I feel like, and of course, as an athlete, as like a yoga instructor, you are inherently more calm
like
through
I
chaos.
think like most of life is just being calm through chaos, because chaos is forever. So
Yeah,
it's
for
you, whether
sure.
you choose to be calm or not.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
But speaking about chaos, has there been like a moment that's been super chaotic in your life and you're like, okay,
Oh,
I
many
need to
actually.
channel my calm?
But I'll give you guys a couple of incidents. So, of course, like, okay, I'll start with this one. So, when I was maybe like 18, 19, like a few years ago, quite a few years ago.
A few years ago. When I was 18, 19, a few years ago.
You reminisce those.
How do you define few? How do you define few?
I feel like if I was 22, I would have said a few years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, so
Big.
basically, when I was like 18, 19, I was dating this girl, and one day she just came up to me and she's like, you know, I'm dating your best friend now, so
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Yo!
Yeah, it was brutal, man, and I just couldn't like. I
Dating
was
your
just
best friend.
one of my best friends.
So
I mean,
is
at that point, he was my best
Is he
friend.
still your friend?
He's still one of my best friends. But
That's fucked up. He
moved-
should have been the one to tell you.
We moved way beyond that. She fucked both of us over equally.
Oh.
Fuck, we should. I don't want to even talk about it. But anyways, so then
There is genuine calm through chaos here.
So I mean that's not even the best part of the story. So that's when Kanye had released 808s and Heartbreaks, and in that he had the song Heartless. And I
Oh,
just
yeah.
heard that song and I was like, dude, if somebody can do that to Kanye, then who am I? You know what I mean? And that just kind of helped me find my calm through chaos, even at that point.
And your friend is like, I am Kanye.
No, Kanye had
Oh,
been.
Kanye was the one who got
Yeah,
heartbroken.
yeah.
Oh, I
So
hear
then,
some.
I mean, that was one a little earlier. Then obviously COVID was like a very rough time. Like I told you guys for like the offline business, and that was actually when it was not funny at that point in time. The first one a little funny, but that was like, you know, in a way, like obviously the struggle is a very relative word, but like at that point in time was the first time like I got out of my comfort zone. I didn't really kind of I don't want to say anything too dramatic, but it was the first time I was actually concerned, and like I feel like my tail was on fire, and that's when like started running, because you know I was just like there was too much uncertainty, there was too much like out of my control, and that was like extremely high level of chaos in my life. Of course, like driving in Bombay on a
Dude.
day-to-day basis also if you have to think
yes.
about another thing, like one of the main reasons, like why I feel like this whole calm through chaos thing is so relevant, and like the fact that I'm from a city like Bombay, I feel like you need to make it a part of your day-to-day kind of thinking. You know what
Do
I
you
mean?
like living in Bombay?
I think it's the best city in the world, honestly.
Really?
Honestly, really.
I don't know why you would ask someone from Bombay that. They asked me the same
What is it
question.
that you
I have
like
the
about
same
Bombay so
answer.
much?
I
The
don't know how. No, but I don't know how to explain. Obviously, there are many things that are really terrible. But like, I can just tell you one thing. Like, even if I'm like, even if I go to like Madrid, like when I was doing my MBA there, when I was on my way back, and I was just landing, and I was above Dharavi, just seeing that also just made me so happy. Like,
Yeah,
it's just such a
familiarity.
beautiful city.
No,
Yeah.
it's
familiarity.
it's familiarity. It's home. There's so much emotion attached to that city.
The energy.
Bombay has a lot
I
of
feel
emotion,
Like the
yeah.
energy.
Yeah, you love Bombay despite
The Bombay people are really nice. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
the energy, I
everything.
think it's the energy.
Everybody is out there to do something
Like,
with their life, like
it's the most
achieve
f-
something.
it's the most fun place I ever had to shoot,
Yeah.
because like whether it's a cab driver or a police guy or like literally anyone's game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's down. Yeah.
Like nobody's like in their own world. Like
Yeah.
they understand that it's my world, but also your world. So all our worlds are interconnected.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
might play a small role in your world.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
everybody is helpful in
yeah,
that
it's
sense.
super helpful.
Do you want to tell him about the asking your auto?
Oh, so there was this video I did. Like this is like one of my initial videos where I was in
Bandra.
Bandstand.
bandstand,
Yeah.
yeah, bandstand, and I was like, so I had a GoPro fitted to my chest, and then I would
Oh,
ask, I would stop auto drivers, and then I was like, hey, are you going? So he's like, yeah, I'm going. Where do you want to go? So I was like, can I go to Sri Lanka? And his eyes just lit up, and he's like, you want to go to Sri Lanka? I was like, yeah, I want to go to Sri Lanka. He's like, okay, hop in.
He's just thinking about how much money he can
Yeah,
make.
yeah. But that I feel like only a Bombay person will
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, hop
That-
in.
Yeah, like in Cochin,
Yeah.
they'd be like, fucker, like,
No,
are
yeah,
you fucking with
that's-
me?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you try to fuck with someone in Bombay, they'll fuck with you so
Yeah.
much harder that
Yeah,
you
dude,
eventually regret
I
it.
got into the auto. We are going. I'm like, motherfucker, where are you taking me? He's like, Sri Lanka way straight. And then I'm looking at the map. I'm like, we are going exactly the opposite way.
You're going north.
Finally, I had to beg him. I'm like, just leave me here. And he didn't take money. He just laughed. He's like, okay, see you, take care.
No,
It's
amazing.
just vibes.
It's amazing. Even in terms of like safety for women and stuff like that. Like I feel like, I mean, there's just something special about the city,
Yeah.
and to a great extent, I feel like even though like whatever people might say about the police in other parts of the country, the Mumbai police is, I mean, and it was rated up there, like with some of the best in the world, because the way they kind of, because see, the safety only like credit goes to them, right? Because they actually are able, like if something is stolen, or if something goes wrong, they actually like get closure with the case, which is actually incredible considering how complex our like system is and just how many people like live in this country.
Yeah,
You know what
especially in Bombay is overpopulated by
I mean? Yeah.
like
Like Bombay in terms of population is 3x of Delhi, and Delhi in terms of size is 3x of Bombay.
yeah.
So Bombay is like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Delhi, in terms of chute levels, those are sometimes.
The levels are too high.
Yeah.
But what if you had started Urban Flux like the store in any other city? Do you feel like it would have been harder, easier?
I mean, in terms of rent, it would have definitely been easier.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But at the same time, see, the thing is, this is our first store. So, like, even we are still kind of cracking, like, our exact product market fit, right? So, I feel like only by talking to the customers, and I feel like that is, like, the most important way to kind of understand better, like, if you're in the right direction, like, how are they finding the prints? How are they finding the fabric? How are they finding the quality? X, Y, Z. So, it's just much more accessible in Bombay. Even though I feel like being a brand from Bombay, opening a store in another store, because Bombay in itself is like considered to be quite, in that sense, aspirational, like in the rest of India. Like it's like, today a brand from New York like sells in India, how people react to that. It's the same way. Like I feel like that would definitely be an advantage, but this is like a pilot project where we're trying to crack it. We're expanding our range of products. Like we had done a sneaker that did quite well, but now we're making like a much more like evolved version of that. And once we kind of get our like the right kind of mix of inventory in place, that's when we look at other cities. But Bombay is just like much more convenient and reachable at this point of time.
In terms of like, so for me, a lot of my work comes from stuff I consumed as a child. Like anime is a huge inspiration for me. Like what are some of the things that inspire your designs? Inspire
So of course, at the end of the day, like Urban Flux is in many ways like inspired by like the things that I care about. Like for example, like I was my school football team captain up until the 8th grade, and then I started going for cricket coaching, so I couldn't attend 2 days of practice. So my coach was really upset, and he would look at me across the ground and like just be like, "I can't believe you left us for those guys," that kind of thing.
That's really
And-
emotional.
yeah, it's tough, bro.
Yeah, no, it was tough, and obviously, so the number 47, which is a big part of our identity, takes inspiration from the fact that sport has been a big part of my life, and like it brings that whole jersey aesthetic into the brand, and also it symbolizes freedom, like the 47,
Oh,
because like
Yeah,
freedom is a
1947.
big part of
Yeah.
like what we kind of are looking for, right? All of us at some level. Then like meditation actually became a part of my life during COVID, because I just didn't have answers to many things, and I needed to kind of just kind of realize that it's okay to not have all the answers, and that's when I started like doing these, I mean, YouTube meditations of like just like stress relief or like XYZ, and
Like
and
with a
just-
voice.
yeah, but like a
Yeah,
guided
yeah,
meditation.
like a guided
Mm.
meditation.
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because it really helps, and just kind of to slow down your thoughts and stuff. And of course, music. Like I mean, I always really loved music. As like you guys know, I like to DJ like just as like a passion thing, and like I feel like this mandala that we have. So like the mandala basically is like a lies in the common ground between the music and the meditation, because if you see like in Buddhism also they have a lot of these like sacred geometry mandalas. Also in music, like because the mandala is like it has elements of chaos actually that come together to create an image that's very calm, right?
Yeah.
I think
Is that what you've got tattooed as well?
no, so this is a different one.
Okay.
This they were both done by my wife actually, Naila.
Oh wow.
So she's like a Zentangle artist. So she basically like these are like custom ones. You won't see it anywhere on the internet or anywhere. So this is a different one, and the one that we have as a part of our identity.
I think
is
it's on my
it's
back.
it's at the back
Yeah.
of like your
Yeah.
T-shirt, yeah. And we have a design that the entire mandala is embroidered. So
Mm.
so yeah, I mean these three kind of things that I'm passionate about obviously translate into the brand's identity, and also like other things like the fact that growing up I used to be like obsessed with WWE, and I used to be like a fat kid.
Who's your favorite WWE guy, bro?
So I used to love The Rock, obviously.
Oh, nice.
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, Shawn
Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah, all these guys. I mean Austin.
Stone
Austin
Cold,
360.
Stone
Stone Cold,
Cold.
Yeah, Kane, Undertaker. It was a
Oh,
different scene,
Kane, yeah.
back then.
Brothers who are not actually
Yeah.
brothers.
So they used to have these black T-shirts, and I was also like a fat kid, so obviously black.
Yeah. What's your fat kids wearing black T-shirts?
It makes you look thin.
yeah,
Don't you
I didn't know
remember
about
that?
this. I was a fat kid. Why didn't anyone tell me this?
Don't you remember that dialogue from
Because
K3G?
you weren't- yeah.
Green makes you look fat, and black makes you look thin.
That's a line.
Yeah.
I've never watched K3.
It's iconic.
Yeah, like people used to fuck with me and call me Laddu and all, bro, when I was
Oh,
Dude, this guy fat shames me still.
a kid. Yeah, I mean, it's bad. And
Don't do
people
it.
Don't stand up for
at
that.
least
know
you
what I
got
mean?
laddu, dude. I used to be called fatso.
Oh, yeah.
There was no
still
imagination.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Fatso
mean,
is great. Fatso is so imaginative. Imagine the
How?
first guy who made Fatso.
It's just fatso. Like,
Like, there's no meaning to it.
yeah, there's nothing.
No, I call people fat out of love.
see, you can't do it because you were never fat, but I can because I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We have that card.
Because
Whoa.
that's
You're
in my-
cultural
like,
appropriating.
in my heart, I'm still a fat kid. You know what I mean? Because look at me today. Like I'm still wearing black. Even like what I mean is like coming back to like what
Fat
we
is
were
a state of
discussing.
mind.
As a, you
Exactly.
know what? As a homage to all the thin kids, I'm gonna wear white T-shirt.
Wow.
I'm gonna try it now.
I think this is the first. I hope, or does he do this every time?
No.
No, this is the
This
first.
time.
the first time.
Guys, because of my love for jerseys, there's a jersey in the back.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So that's the Flux Cat, which is eventually going to be
Okay.
our mascot.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah?
See, bro, I told you you should have ironed it. Look at how bad it's looking.
It looks great, bro. What are you talking? Don't talk about Urban Flux t-shirts like that.
Did you just hit him?
Yeah, how can he
He's
he
like-
say?
No,
Bitch slapped me.
No, wait a minute. Let me ask you. All you fatties, how does the white
Oh,
T-shirt look?
wow.
Dude, you
That's
know he
me,
still
bro.
calls me like Tadia, which is like fat ass in Malayalam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, Tadia still sounds nice, bro.
That's
Not a
'cause you-
Malayalam.
it just means fatty.
It's like calling someone Motu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
we'll be playing football and like the way he asks for the ball is like,
But
hey,
I was
Tadia.
not as fat as that guy, you know what I mean?
Which
Even
guy?
though that
The
guy
Laddu
eventually
guy.
became Hrithik Roshan.
Yeah.
Ah.
But Laddu was like fucking fat, bro. In the
He
movie.
was
Like,
really
he
a
was
Laddu,
really
yeah.
fat, yeah.
But how did you lose weight? Like, what was the?
So yeah, I mean, I was in all boys school. So then when I realized that, you know, there's more to the world than an all boys school, then I had to like I started working out. There was a point of time when I was like playing badminton in the morning and going to the gym in the evening. And I also like got tall, so I guess it just
The fat.
But I feel like that's such a like when you're a fat kid forever and then you start losing weight. Like I feel that's such a good period
It's
of
like
life.
no,
metamorphosis.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's great. Like as in,
And then you come to school hot.
Dude,
Yeah,
so
no, it's crazy,
my reason for losing weight was I was in school and I used to get shamed all the time. And so I had a best friend, okay, very thin, very pretty, and we both had a crush on the same guy. But obviously the guy
Liked her.
saw physical features and said, "Hey, you're a fatty."
same
Let's
thing during
move
my
on.
heartless story. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from that day onwards, I was in the morning, I used to go for coaching. In the evening after school, I would be like sitting outside school coaching again. I would then go for tennis classes. I would be jogging. I would be cycling. Just because this one guy didn't obviously
you?
like me because of how I looked.
Did he end up liking you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I lost all my weight.
And then he
there
started
comes
dating
the
you?
phone call. I mean, I never dated him. He was so shallow that.
Yeah, fair.
He was thinking about your overall fitness.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was concerned for your health.
Hey,
Yeah.
what are you
I
saying?
mean, he motivated you
Yeah.
in a way.
Wow,
Motivated.
guys, I didn't
mean, I'm
realize.
joking. Similar
Motivated.
thing. No, man. The same thing what I told you guys about the heartless part. But I
Ah.
don't
So
want to
wait-
give that.
So wait, she
incident of
she
my
started
life
dating your
more
best friend
important.
because you were fed.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Wow.
Wait, okay. How are you still friends with this guy?
Because the thing that I realized it was, I mean, eventually we realized that it was not us, it was her. You know what I mean? And
that's
of
deep.
course, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, and at the same time, like, I mean, he was like, just I don't know. He's just one
The
of my
friendship
boys,
just
dude.
meant
Yeah,
more than
yeah, and
that
we both moved
relationship
on.
ever
We
did.
both like, I mean, have moved past that, and like, I the thing I don't want to say things that.
I prefer not to speak. Eh?
yeah, but yeah.
So wait, you were fat and then how? Like, so but was that the same time you were playing football in school? And
Yeah. So I was like like a center back,
Oh.
and my kicks used to literally reach from the D to almost the goal of the other end. And I've scored a lot of goals from the center line,
Oh
where
my
you know
God.
at the kickoff, like straight into the corner. It was actually crazy. Like we had some mad time.
Yeah,
I was always an athlete, bro. I was fat, but I was like a
Yeah, he's one of those
fathlete,
guys
you
where
know?
you're like,
Fatly.
there's no way he knows how to play football properly, and then
And then he,
goes
like,
on the pitch
brings
and
on
he's
the
like-
Yeah.
No, it was actually like football was like a big part of life growing up, because literally like every morning, even though like to wake up it was always hard, but like I remember that feeling, you know, just being on that field, and like especially during the games, and like that's like what we were discussing earlier, right? The flow state, like
yeah.
it actually feels like effortless action, and like it feels like that's where you kind of belong. You know what I mean? That
Mm.
whole the camaraderie of the team, and just even when you lose, like in a way you still like feel that energy in a different way, but like you know what I mean. And there are experiences in life where you kind of win, but you don't feel
Yeah.
that energy. You know what I mean?
So when it comes to like the flow state now, with the work that you do now, like what is the part of the process that gives you that flow state? Like for me, it's like while I'm sitting and editing, I don't enjoy the shooting process so much, but when I'm sitting and editing, that's when,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming it's the same for
It's
you.
the
It's
opposite
opposite
for
for
him.
me.
Really?
Exact opposite.
Really?
He loves shooting. He hates editing.
I only part of editing I like is after I finish editing
Mm.
and I watch it. That's all.
Yeah, so for me, like I
Sorry.
feel like God bless you, bro.
Thanks.
So basically, the things that like I enjoy the most about this, and that are like effortless action, is obviously like going from idea to concept to like product. Nothing gives me as much happiness as that. The collaborations we've done have been incredible. Like we did this one collaboration with this record label called Killer Records, which is like this underground music label, and that did really well for us, and that was a lot of fun because it kind of, seeing people when you go out wearing those t-shirts was like, it just seeing a product come to life is honestly super satisfying, like I mentioned. Another collab that we did was with this graffiti artist called Zake that we just did for our store, and we're planning to drop a limited edition of t-shirts also soon, hopefully. So that was very satisfying. Then obviously everything we do with our community, like the radio sets, are incredible. It's like, it doesn't feel like work at all, because literally you get like some like artists that you admire come and play music for you for an hour. Can't really get better than that. And yeah, it's like basically it was the collaborations, the community, and like the products that we brought to life. I think those are the things that give me the most happiness in what I do.
Nice. Do you have any advice for people who want to start, not just a clothing brand, a brand in general?
Like, and a caveat to that question, like the idea of purpose in your work, how do you discover that? Like, how do you, like, when you're shooting a vlog, I'm assuming also, and you're around a bunch of people, how do you give yourself that feeling that, yeah, my work matters? Like, how do you give yourself that? Yeah,
Sharan
this
just shouts at people. He's like, this is
like
important.
for me, I went for this cred shoot, and it was me and like a few other people, and I'm like, fuck, my work doesn't matter. Like let them finish theirs, and then I'll do mine. Like, how do you put your foot in the door, like in situations like that? How do you find that purpose for yourself?
So I'll tell you. So I saw this one TED talk by this guy called Simon Sinek. I don't know
Oh,
if
I
you
love Simon Sinek.
yeah, he's sick. So he has this. He also has a book, but obviously TED talks are easier to watch. So basically, the
so
book
real.
is called "Start with Why," or like the TED talk is also "Start with Why." Basically, he talks about how, like a brand like Apple, they always start with their purpose, like the think different or like challenge the status quo. That's their purpose, and that kind of translates from the why to the what to the how, right? So like, I mean, for us also similarly, I feel like. Um, Basically it's not an easy process. For Urban Flux also, we found our purpose almost like 4.5 years into the game.
So it's not a trial and error.
Not even trial and error. It's just like you have to have that intention of wanting to find your purpose, and maybe like sometimes you might force it and it might not feel right. Even this Calm Through Chaos, it was like we had different versions of it until we came up to the Calm Through Chaos, right? And if you go on Instagram and check out the hashtag of Calm Through Chaos, they're literally like below 1,000 posts. So it's not like it's inspired by something else, and like, or even something like Just Do It. It's like one of the like most used like kind of lines in life, right? But it's already out there, just about kind of finding that. So I would say, kind of, if you want to start a brand, start with why. Like, if you're trying to do it for the money, don't do it, because there are a lot, like many easier ways to make money. If you're doing it for the fame also, don't do it, because there are definitely easier ways to kind of get famous. What I would say is that if you want to start a brand, like, you need to kind of do it to kind of, if you have a narrative that you want to kind of create, like a narrative that you want people to interact with, and through your products, which are like touch points of your message, then it makes sense. Because the thing is, the entire process of brand building is, it's like it's not easy, to say it very mildly. Like, it takes the life out of you. You could say that to a certain extent, because the thing is, it requires two things that today, like, we struggle to like have, which is like, it requires faith and requires commitment. And in our generation, with the kind of dopamine we've been kind of like administered through social media and stuff, we're not used to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I mean, uh, if you keep doing anything and you're passionate about it and you have a certain level of talent, you are going to be successful. But at the same time, you have to kind of believe and just keep going, because there are going to be many like more like tough days than good days, at least until you make it. You know what I mean? And we are also like on that journey where today, because we have the purpose, we feel like we have a sense of direction, because that purpose gives us, we know where we're heading. You know what I mean? If you don't have the purpose, you don't even know where you're heading. So
Yeah.
then you get so overwhelmed that you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? So at least the purpose is like your guiding star, where you know that this is where I need to go. I don't know when I'm gonna get there. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I know where I need to eventually be. So yeah, that's what.
I feel like that's great advice, especially about faith and commitment.
I mean, I'm no one to give advice because I'm still figuring it out. But this is just what I like to share.
No,
from
but
my
these are things which will help because you're in the process, right? So
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so far what's helped, what's not.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
What's the
Makes
worst
sense.
piece of advice you've gotten?
Worst piece of advice I've gotten is I don't know. Like I feel like Indian people, like in general, like they just don't really care about like copying stuff. You know what I mean? So like early on during my early days, like I had this guy who was working with my family business as a consultant. He would just show me these graphics and like designs that like of brands that he liked, and he was just like, why don't you make this or why don't you make that? And I feel like that especially coming from someone experienced to like just not be authentic is such bad advice. It's a different thing that I realized and I learned on my own, that like how important authenticity is. But I feel like people kind of just take for granted that like it's okay to like copy stuff, or like you don't really have to be authentic.
So I mean that's what. So that thing that Virgil Abloh said, that any idea is new as long as you change it by 3%. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Like, is valid, not valid?
I think it's valid. I mean,
I mean,
there's honestly, in my opinion, there is no original idea as such anymore. Everything has been inspired from something, and when you seek inspiration from something, you're not copying it, but you're taking that as a basis, modifying it with your own personality, and then putting it out there in the world.
But that's what the question is. Is
So-
like 3% enough?
3% could be huge also, right? It depends on what you've changed.
If it's a 1,000-word draft, that's 300. That's
I've
no,
never,
that's not even.
I've never
It's
understood
30 words, bro.
percentages, so I can't answer this
no,
question.
so I'll tell you. So Virgil Abloh actually, I mean, may his soul rest in peace, one of my greatest influences during my journey. But if you look at the Off-White logo, he didn't even change that 3%. You know that, right? Like it's the same as the Glasgow airport logo, what it used to be. Have you seen that?
He's copied an art, like a British artist called, started with K, Kurt or Jack. I can't tell. I can't remember.
You know the arrows,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's also been accused of a lot of plagiarism, and
Yeah.
but I mean I feel like that is also going to be inevitable because to a degree, because no idea is new under the sun.
True.
But I feel like you need to modify it to a degree where it feels like you, it smells like
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
It is
Add
you.
your personality to
Yeah.
it, make it yours, and then put it out there.
Yeah.
But that's what 3%. It depends on what 3% you're changing, right? For instance, someone takes your video, copies it word to word, but uses a different font.
that's
That's just not.
that's not enough.
Yeah, that's not enough.
And I also feel it's also to a certain extent about owning it, right? Like for example, like you look at like Louboutin with the red sole. It's not like nobody did a red sole before,
Yeah.
but he took it and he made it a part of his signature. Or you look at like Virgil with his figures of speech or quotes or whatever you call it. It's not like no brand might have done that before, but he took it and made it his own.
But it's not for. I feel like both of you, like with your brand, you have like this distinct style, and with you've discovered so many things for yourself. Like you have certain things, like that finito thing. How do you guys discover those things that become a part of the brand? Is it accidental? Is it through experimentation? And also, when you experiment so much, how do you decide? Okay, this stays, this goes.
Why don't you tell us?
I think it's experimentation in the sense, but like everything has certain meanings attached to it. For example, finito. I use finito because like when we were growing up, I used to hear Mama and Papa say finito when something's over, like it's done. Or so it's finito is something I used to hear,
Yeah.
and I like that word. And for example, the outro music, which is always Punjabi MC's Jogi, is something. When I was in college, when we used to party in India, we used to, it wasn't a very famous song back then. But then anytime that song would play, people would be like, "What the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
like where did this come from?"
Yeah.
So, and I used to play this at every house party, and everybody would ask me, "What is this song?" So, it's because of that I use that. So, but I feel like it's experimentation. You need to experiment and figure out what you build your identity. You don't. It's not like you have an identity of your
But
own.
to answer your question of why he has finito, is also because it's something that sticks with the audience, and they know that this
That's
is
a
gonna-
repetition. They are
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix of both, right? Because it's about like obviously like certain level of like the learning curve and what works
Yeah.
with at the same time like that stickiness that kind of you learn about as time goes by.
Yeah, yeah.
And similarly, like to answer like my side of it, basically like even today what the brand is, So we had, like I mentioned to you, done a range of jerseys and mandalas. It's a different thing. They were like 9 different jerseys and 9 different mandalas. But even today, like we have one number, that 47, that we'll just use always, and one mandala that we'll use across products. So like if you think about it, like you can only connect the dots looking backward, right? So similar, like same as what he said, like it just happened like by trial and error, and then sometimes it kind of just like, but you have to be seeking to create an identity. Like it has to be on your mind. Only then you'll kind of consciously like be looking for those
Yeah.
connections or whatever you want to call it, and eventually it all kind of piece together.
Like
But-
when I think of 47 now, I'll think of Urban Flux. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
like I have this, like I get a lot of messages, like Jogi is a very famous song now. A lot of people use it, but no matter who uses it, at least I get one message saying, "Hey bro, they're using your music." I'm
Yeah.
like, no, this is
Yeah.
not my
No,
music.
like we get tagged in reels that are using that song now, saying they're
No, that's
using your
amazing.
song.
But that's the beauty of identity, right?
Yeah.
That you become basically copy proof. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's even a word. Like basically, like obviously, like people will try to still copy you,
Yeah.
and like imitation, like is definitely like that means you're doing things right. That's why people
Flattery,
are
yeah.
imitating you. But at the same time, like today, if somebody makes a shoe with a red sole, they'll know that Louboutin did it first. Like you know what I mean? That identity, in a way, makes you bulletproof.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about buying fake clothes?
Fucking never.
Never?
Even
Fake,
I
no.
can't.
I mean, the thing is, see, I'm not into hype. You know what I mean? Like and identity-wise, like
No, like a Zara knockoff.
how do you do that, bro? Zara itself is like the king of knockoffs.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like
But,
Zara, like
How
literally
can you
knock off Zara? I mean, the guy who does that, I would like invest in his company for sure. For sure, because he's like the devil's devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair.
I feel like the whole point of buying into a brand is you can afford it and you can, it's
Yeah,
achievable, and that's the journey.
That's my philosophy. If I can't afford it, it's fine. I will strive to afford
Why
it.
would you want to
but
buy something
that's
fake?
it.
First of all, there's no real and fake. I mean, somebody who puts a crocodile on a t-shirt, for example, Lacoste, we understand that as Lacoste the brand. But if somebody else takes the same crocodile and puts on a different t-shirt, I mean, that's not Lacoste, but
Yeah,
technically there's no fake and no real.
yeah.
Like, for
true.
example, Nike, even with like reselling in the US, like StockX and stuff, which are like incredibly trusted apps where people resell. Nobody fucking knows what is real and what is not to a large extent, because the fakes are so good. So
Yeah, especially with the t-shirt, think about it. Like, I mean, a shoe is a fairly technical product if you think about it. Like, I mean, t-shirts literally one material and like the rib material and maybe a tape here and a couple of labels and a print. But like when it comes to like a shoe, like literally a shoe, like at least the way a shoe is like almost like a building, you know, like from the sole, like they're literally like there's the sole, there's like a canvas, there's like a texan, there's a like a metal, what we call a gully you put inside. There's like 3 types of different like adhesives that you have to use. Then you like kind of add the midsole. Then in the insole part has like another 5 components. The upper has another 5 components. So like
There's a lot.
Yeah, so I feel
God, I
in a
just came
shoe.
hearing that.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I thought it's so
I just
good.
came hearing that
Yeah,
because I
like,
love shoes. So
no, shoes are a fairly technical product. So I feel like with fakes for shoes, it's definitely harder. But in clothing, I think it's like I mean, there's no reason why an Essentials t-shirt can't be copied. And even in Bombay, like literally like in certain parts of Bombay, you'll see like half the guys wearing Essential t-shirts with the Travis Scott like Cactus Jack collab Nikes, and you're just like, wow.
no,
dude,
I know
like,
a person who sells fake Essentials t-shirts like for
Yeah.
like half the price. So
it's
like,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you got yours from?
I completely regret buying Essentials. I think it was a waste of money.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole idea of fakes never appealed to me because I feel like that way all of us are pretty low key. Like I don't think that's more like a little obnoxious kind of thing, right?
Bro, I
you would
love
say?
buying fake shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bro, it gives
But
me
no,
such
but
a
no,
rush.
I didn't know. I didn't buy. So normal people buy fakes because they want to pass off or something. I didn't buy the fucking fakest of fakes. Like if it is
He'll buy
Jordan-
Adibas.
Is it in Jordan? It's Jordan.
But that's streetwear. You know what I mean?
That's like funny. Like the Jumpman logo instead of like this Jumpman.
It's like a fat guy.
That's insane.
Nah,
Where do you find this shit?
Just like wherever I found a bunch of stuff in like a tourist shop in
That's
Kerala. It's like
crazy.
you get nice stuff, as in relatively nice.
Yeah, Indian people are actually insanely creative though. Like even when they rip stuff off, like even like you might have seen the variation they have of Adidas and like
Yeah,
Nike
yeah,
and
yeah.
like
Dude, even there's this thing called Sardar Bucks in the north.
oh yeah,
So, like Starbucks.
They
rip
got
off.
sued. Starbucks sued them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh Starbucks sued them.
Yeah, they had to change their name a bit, and they had to change. I think their logo was like the Starbucks lady, but with a turban.
No, okay. It's not a lady. It's a Punjabi guy with the turban,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else is the same.
He's a
That's-
mermaid.
But
Punjabi mermaid.
think about it this way: they stole our Kohinoor diamond. So why can't we just like
Yeah,
take
fuck
some
them. inspiration
from from their brands? Fuck it, dude. Like let him like.
I mean,
No, so
Starbucks
another
would
reason
feel
I,
like
I buy fake things is because like if I get like a pair of Nike shoes for like I have never bought fake Nike shoes. I have actually, but but if I'm paying like 30K for a pair of shoes and then I fuck them up, I feel like shit. But if I paid like 500 rupees for it,
I feel weird when I get white shoes and they're too clean because then I
Yeah,
just feel like,
yeah.
what am I
Mm.
doing with my life? You know what I mean? So then the first time I need to wear them, get some dirt onto them, then I'm like, okay, fine, now I'm okay. Because like it's just like, and especially living in like India, like abroad, I feel like you wear sneakers for like 3 months also they're perfect. In India, and one time you wear them,
done.
gets
they're
fucked.
done. Yeah,
Done.
you have like
Mm.
pebbles stuck inside and like
Yeah.
you know like
The heart of the city inside your shoes.
yeah.
Nice.
But I also want to know from you guys. So what are you guys doing? How do you guys, as content creators and some of the best content creators that I've come across, how did
Thanks.
you manage to kind of establish your identity, or like what is? I don't know if you want to disclose this, but like how do you kind of differentiate yourself and stand out from the clutter?
So I just get called Sharan's brother. So you go on.
I personally feel like I'll just give you an example. So
Yeah.
we went to Bombay to meet Beckham. It was a Meta
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
so we went and met
He was
him.
telling me.
Yeah, and there were like creators, massive creators, infinitely bigger than me, like maybe 50 times bigger than me. Most of them. I think we were the smallest in terms of numbers. But in my opinion, and that's only my opinion, it doesn't have to be anybody else's, or could be anybody else's, I don't know. But like, what content they created out of that event and what content I created out of that event, I genuinely feel like if there was a ranking, I feel like I was number one. And it only, like, this is the only aspect of life where I think I'm number one, because like the YouTube video I made with the story I spun about how we met Beckham, I think that was beautiful compared to like all the reels or whatever others created. So I feel like I built that unique identity in the story I have spun around.
And it's
that
also much more
moment.
real because like one of his first jerseys was a Beckham jersey.
Yeah.
I think
And-
that.
Yeah, and but for a lot of them, they were just dancers who
Yeah.
the fuck knows why the fuck they're there.
Yeah, I think that also added a lot because it actually truly came from your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, like, you can't fake it, right?
Yeah.
Beyond a certain point. Like,
Yeah, so his videos are that way very, the emotion is raw. You know, it's not
Yeah.
processed emotion
yeah.
to cater to an audience.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's
I saw I've seen one, honestly, sorry, I haven't really stalked you yet, but I've seen your animal video. That one video, and it was sick.
Oh,
like,
my dad fucking
like your
actually
dad,
slapped
like
the shit
your
out of
dad
me.
was, yeah, hit, like,
Yeah, he took out some personal anger there.
yeah, it was funny.
I had a
He
headache
mentioned
after
it,
that.
and he was like, dude, chill. Like,
Yeah, he's having too much fun with it.
But I like my unique identity also comes from the fact that, especially in India, there are a lot of things people don't want to put on the internet. But recently, I found out like, for example, when my friend is hospitalized, obviously he's not dying. But
Yeah.
like when he's in the hospital, that is a raw emotion. Like,
Yeah.
when
That
he's
is
in the
real.
hospital,
You won't see
and
that
his-
anywhere else.
and his wife is worried about him, but also his wife knows that I'm there, so it's also kind of funny. So that's real emotion that you're capturing.
Yeah.
Those moments where you're
Yeah.
technically not allowed to capture.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
when everything is okay and you watch this vlog like 5 years later, you will remember what it felt like on that day, right? So
No, for sure.
that emotion is what I really love.
So I don't know if you guys know about this. There's this guy. I'll just share it with you guys later. But he talks about how if you document, or like even in an Excel, you document every day of your life, then how later you have so many more stories to tell. You've come
Yeah.
across this guy?
No.
I'll send this to you. Basically, like just write one thing. For example, today, like for today's in my Excel, I can just write this is not a podcast, and something else was also there, but I forgot. But whatever. Basically, I just write this. So like even if it's like 5 years later, I look at my 10 Jan, right?
Yeah.
So I look at the date today and I'm like, okay, this is the day I did this. And then, like, you know, if I don't write it, then it's just lost. And what happens is when you start writing things down, you look at every day with a different lens, where you're looking at it like, okay, what story am I going to have to tell about today? But yeah, I guess storytelling is like very undervalued.
Like for me, I would say I'm still in the process of finding what my identity is. And I'm someone who gets bored very easily, right? So I don't want to be known as a person who does a particular thing, because maybe 2 years down the line I'll be super bored of doing that thing and I'll want to switch, right? So that's why I even like in the career I was in law, I was in general corporate. I didn't specialize even in that because I don't want to be boxed in. But with content creation, I'm still in the process of finding out.
But I feel like we spoke about this a few days back. I feel like Shamali's biggest asset is she can be in the moment, but also realize, fuck, we should shoot something right now. Like she can take an event or like something we're doing at the moment and be like, okay, let's make a reel about this. Hey Sharan, let's shoot this. So that is, I feel like, being able to create like a 1 out of a 0, like something out of a nothing. Like I feel like that's a huge skill. Like and that's so transferable to everything. I feel like that's not something most people have. And okay, most people might have the idea, but the ability to get up and take the initiative is not something a lot of
I'm
people
the
have.
execution girl.
Execution.
No, that in itself is.
I feel like Shamini is good at everything. That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when you're good at everything,
Bro,
you sort
she's
of
good at
don't.
everything.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
kind
No,
of
that's
unfair.
a huge problem. I feel so bad for you.
Dude, it's
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I mean, it's like being, I mean, I don't want to say this about myself, but being like the jack of all trades is an issue. It's a real.
Because you don't specialize.
But I
People don't know you about
no,
one
but,
thing.
But I disagree with that. I feel like this whole jack of all trades thing was just something that like the haters made up to kind of
The non-jacks.
Yeah, because they were just like, okay, I can't even do one thing properly. This guy's doing 5 things, so maybe I should just make up this phrase that discourages him.
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that.
No, but what I mean is, like in today's day and age, like besides being an entrepreneur, I need to be a marketer. I need to be a graphic designer. I need to, like, there's no thing like specialization where I can be like, I'm only a graphic designer who only works with Illustrator and only with black and white. Like what I'm trying to say, okay, if you're an artist, then that's a different case. But I'm saying, as somebody who's
No, but
trying
even as an artist, right? Like if you're a musician, you need to know
Yeah.
how to sell your song. You need to make sure
There's
maybe
a
it's a
lot
song
that-
which
yeah.
can be made like into reels so that it
Exactly.
fucking pops off. So
Exactly, yeah.
you're right about not
Yeah,
being good at one thing. It's
and because I think the world has changed so much, like you need to have these skills. Like for example, like I'm not somebody who's into production, but we record our YouTube sets of the Urban Flux radio by ourselves, like from the audio to the video. Like you just have to learn, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the other option is to get someone in, and you
It's
know what I mean?
expensive.
Like you got to bootstrap, dude. Like as a
No, but I
necessity.
agree. Because I remember when I was sort of in the process of making this switch.
yeah,
I mean, not really a switch, but moving into this as well.
yeah.
I remember editing my first video, and like to now my capability of editing, it is so different. But again, like it's something that came from the aspect of being bootstrapped and not having an editor and like
For
booty
sure.
strapped.
wow.
I feel like it's also a matter of perspective. Like, are you going to see this as, oh, fuck, that's one more thing I need to handle? Or are you going to see this as, fuck, yeah, I'm going to learn something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
another thing under my belt. That's another
It's
skill.
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, that perspective.
Like we were discussing today, you want to learn, like you were saying, you want to get into
The
DJing.
production.
This
Yeah,
bastard
DJing.
is always learning shit. It's insane.
No, you have to.
But we
bro.
get a
You
high
have
from
to.
doing these
Bro,
things.
Yeah.
You have to.
It's like one day he's doing he's a fucking like, all his graphic designing, and then I'm like, yeah, he's never going to get good at this. And then bam, next day there's a fucking photo on Instagram. I was like, how did this happen?
Yeah, no,
He learned
it's
it,
insane. Yeah.
and next day I don't know, he's learning music. I was like, motherfucker, now this guy's gonna make music also.
But think about it this way also. Like today, like if you have it, like we all have teams to a certain extent who work with us, right? So unless I don't understand graphic design to a certain level, how can I explain to somebody working with me
Makes
what
sense.
I want? Like I can't just be like, just make this thing.
That's
Like,
what I do. I'm
like-
like,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta
Yeah.
have a basic understanding of.
So bro, but he is very good with, he knows what he wants. So even
Yeah.
if he doesn't know a lot of things, but he's
Thanks.
like
He has
doesn't.
the vision.
He has the vision, and
of
he's
a leader.
very specific. Like, no, I want this. No, I
But you
want
know
this.
that
I feel like that
backfires.
is-
That backfires because sometimes you can want everything under the sun to be specific to a certain point, but you need to understand that there has to be that error margin,
Okay.
which he doesn't keep in mind.
I think it's a
No
a
errors.
double-sided like
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
double-sided sword.
sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you end up like this way. You are literally like the CEO, right? Like you are kind of on top of everyone, and you're trying to tell them like do this, do that, and obviously like there'll never be a perfect way, but like things get done without him diluting his energy into those other areas. Whereas like I mean, I'm talking about
I-
myself.
I feel like a double-sided sword is a guy who didn't have a normal sword. So
Quote. But how do you manage to like let go? Like it's your brand, it's your baby, and then
See,
somebody
I
else comes
feel-
in.
Yeah, like as in see like once I'm not really letting go, but at the same time now once you define what your brand is about, then I can do the same things that somebody else can do, right? Like once I have my symbols, my like the mandala, the 47, the fonts,
Those assets, yeah.
the assets in place, then like if X, Y, or Z design like doesn't really matter because the brand has its own language, right? And of course like at a concept level we have to all be aligned. Like I can't do a concept that doesn't align with the brand. Like so that's the main thing. At a conceptual level, once we're aligned, then you have to kind of understand that there are many people who can do things better than you,
Mm.
and that's why you kind of make them a part of your team, right? Because if I could do everything, why would I like ever hire anyone?
No, and also I think if you are a creator,
Yeah.
it is best to delegate the processes you don't enjoy doing. Right? So you can concentrate your energies on what you actually enjoy doing the most. Like for instance, I keep telling him you don't like editing, you don't like editing. Try to find someone who can edit the way you want. So you can concentrate on shooting because that is
Yeah.
the process you love.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, but yeah, I feel like once you start with like, I know I said this like a million times, but once you have like your brand's purpose defined, and then you get the right people to kind of who resonate with that philosophy,
Mm.
and you've also created a culture which is more like in terms of like a collaborative culture, like where it's like everyone's happy to share ideas and discuss things without having any kind of fear of like saying something wrong or whatever. Like I feel like then everything kind of
Falls into
place, and
Yeah.
everyone is like aligned in terms of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And obviously like when somebody just joins the team, it takes time to kind of
Get them into that zone.
yeah
Mm.
get them into that zone. But then once they are like once you understand each other, like they know the kind of stuff that fits into the brand's philosophy,
Yeah.
and like what kind of like what we are looking to achieve, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of works well. Like I mean eventually works out, not works well. So I want to ask you guys a question. So what are some of the biggest challenges you guys face in doing what you do?
I mean, I can go first because it's a very simple thing, just being in front of the camera. So I was the most camera shy person I ever knew. And this stems from the fact that I was a fat kid and I was like whatever, shamed and whatnot. But I was so underconfident to be in front of the camera that even prior to me going public, my private Instagram account had only pictures of food, scenery,
That's amazing.
other people.
So
Cut to
so inspirational for anyone who wants to be a
Who
content
wants to do
creator
it.
but isn't
Yeah.
like confident enough, right?
and I'm not saying I'm like great at it now, but the progress I know personally is insane. But I also give him credit because after a point he didn't give me much of an option, right? Like so you can see my initial videos in his particular YouTube channel or Instagram channel, and you can see how much I've grown just because of him constantly like recording, right? So I think that has been one of my biggest challenges, which I've sort of overcome now.
That's
For
amazing.
you, biggest challenge? Working with other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I always.
It's
struggle
still a
That's because we
challenge.
haven't worked together yet. I think
Yeah,
that might
that's
change
true,
after
yeah.
that. You can ask Aryan like how much
Yeah,
fun we
he's-
had working together.
But no,
No,
working-
he had a lot of fun working with you because he kept saying, like, usually he's bitching and moaning about all the people he works with.
No, we had.
He's
we
like
had
a
good time
grumbling
working
grandmom. He's like, I fucking hate
together.
them.
No, I'm sure, man. It's not easy.
But with you, he was like, he's such a nice guy. He was like so shocked. He's so nice to work with.
No, we had fun working together. What about you? What are the challenges?
I
that-
feel like the thing I'm working on now is so he has this. So basically, when you're again in a setting, to be able to create something, you need to sort of put your individualism in the world, and you need to make it real.
it's too deep.
Sorry, like sometimes it's like it's like okay. I feel like the basic word for this would be initiative. So for one of our friends' birthday, Gayu, who's not here, he got this billboard made he got this billboard done with happy birthday, you're 30 and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like an idea that big for me to take the initiative, for me to like take that idea and make it into reality is very difficult.
The conversion.
But
Yeah.
you just showed me that other thing you did right now for your other friend. You made that
That's
sticker.
simple because it's just me and my friend. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it.
But
I'm
it's
just
the same thing.
Yeah, but it's the whole process. So it's not just the ideation. So he came up with the idea. Then we drove her to surprise her. He got the billboard, and it's on one of the biggest streets in. It's one of the most
Oh,
important
you
streets.
guys got a billboard.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then
fuck.
later on got featured on
Hindustan Times.
his
Oh,
Hindustan
that's
Times.
sick.
So that ability to, and also when he's shooting, he sort of at like a party, most people are like, fuck it, I don't want to irritate these people, I don't want to do
Yeah.
this.
He's
But he
ruthless.
toes the line.
Yeah.
He toes the line, and he knows. Okay, he always tests that, and that's something
And
that's
everyone
rare.
secretly loves it, because everyone wants.
The
To be seen.
attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but like
Till they don't, and till he doesn't lose it. but
But that's what I feel like. That drive, that ability to. It's okay if that person isn't so comfortable, as long as he's having that conversation with me eventually. That is something I feel like I'm too nice. I feel like I try too hard to
Yeah,
be
he's-
to make
you're
people
a
around me happy.
pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
pleaser. Yeah. So
Interesting.
with Sharan, it's more like I don't care if this relationship doesn't last.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
But work is work.
yeah, work is the most important thing for him.
No, for him it's more like, see, if you're a close friend and you know me and you know how much I love my
Yeah.
work, you'll respect it when I'm working, right? Like
Right. Right.
Half my job is to convince people to do things they don't want to do.
No, I mean that's not. It's not easy. Like I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes to like. I mean, even when like I would go for trips with my friends, and I would be taking picture of like monuments and stuff, they would get irritated with me. So I can imagine.
Oh, that way
I
I'm
was like,
very
dude,
supportive friends.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got the worst set of friends in that
Yeah,
sense
same.
But I have-
because
I have the. I mean, they're the best also.
yeah,
But because they're the worst, you know.
exactly.
What I mean?
But that way I'm very supportive. Like, sometimes I just sit back and I'm like, fuck, why does this person do this?
You know, I keep questioning how he has such nice friends. Like,
That's always been the case.
it's insane.
That's amazing. Honestly, like then, like it's all about people, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, so
I'm a
that-
Gemma guy. What can I say?
Ah.
I guess opposites attract. That's right.
yeah, fuck that's
Kaiz!
a good one.
No, but just in general, like since we're talking
No,
about the-
everybody's calm. I'm
Yeah.
the chaos, bro.
no, I guess it's the like the polarity. But yeah, so like we were talking about like the challenges, but like the way I see it, like we live in this whole new world today, right? And in a way, like you guys are like at the forefront of it, because I feel like one major change that's happened over the last few years is that earlier the brands used to lead the narrative. To a certain extent, now I feel like the content creators are taking initiative of the narrative, which is beautiful in its own way. It's like, you know, like disrupting the status quo to a great extent. But what do you guys think about this whole new world we live in? Like, what are your thoughts? Like the good, the bad, everything. Like,
I feel like it's individualism is now the biggest form of value. Like the more individualistic you are, but that also has its pitfalls. Like individualism without any need, like quirkiness without any real reason, also turns out to be very cringy. So I feel like eventually we're going to go back to being very conservative. That's how
It's a cycle.
yeah,
at
it's a
the end of
cycle,
the day.
yeah.
It's
So-
cyclic.
I like the world, but I also feel like it's a little too restrictive in the language that we use and the things that we say. But I feel like that is also an opportunity for creators and an opportunity for people if you see it that way. So whatever pitfalls that there are in the new world, I feel like there are also opportunities.
What do you think?
You're the glass is half
I
empty
was
kind of
thinking you
person.
guys. Okay, so so what I find interesting is that today, like humans are becoming more like corporations, and corporations are becoming more like humans, right? Like today, people are like trying to build. Yeah, I mean, everything
that
I'm
makes
saying is
sense.
like something that I've read or
Yeah.
heard. But what else is there? So like, what I mean is, today people trying to build personal brands and like have like schedules and 5-year plan, 3-year plan, 10-year plan, whatever. And there are corporations which are building like brand identity and like a language, a tone of voice. So I feel that's very interesting. At the same time, like the whole distribution has changed in this whole new world. Like I feel that is very disruptive to a great extent, and not just smaller brands. Like even the bigger brands are like I feel shaken to a certain extent. And I feel like even in terms of consumption is also changing. Like people have gotten so sick of these marketing gimmicks that brands try to pull off that like it's going back to buying in tribes, and like word of mouth I feel now also and going forward will be much more powerful or as powerful as it used to be, because
Yeah.
people are just blocking out like uh, like these attempts of companies to like market products like disguised as gimmicks, you know what I mean?
No, I personally feel like I love the disruption, like in 2 3 areas. For example, like in the movies, like in the
Yeah.
industry, like
Yeah.
films,
Incredible.
massive change because of like Netflix, Amazon,
Mm,
so
OTTs.
yeah,
Yeah.
OTTs. And then there's a further like subsection of that which is like content creators, because when I started creating content 6 years back, even though it
Mm.
was like fun at that time, um, if you ever take a movie, like a person in the industry, the movie industry, and you ask about content creators, they had this sense of like these guys are obviously failed
Yeah.
filmmakers or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now you see Ranbir Kapoor like running around with like fucking every content creator before to promote a movie. So you see the shift in power, because you suddenly see that, if content creators are invited for every award show, for every PR event, you know where the power suddenly lies.
For sure.
There's a new section of people. At the same time, even when it comes to brands, right? Like there's so many homegrown brands, smaller brands, which can compete with big brands. I feel like back in the day, that was extremely hard.
Yeah.
But now, because of like social media and the various ways you can
True.
market yourself and your identity, it's become so much easier
True.
to keep up with like the heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, definitely, like it has opened up channels that didn't exist earlier, and like how Andy Wall had said that everyone will be like famous
15
for
minutes,
15
yeah.
minutes of fame. That whole thing,
Yeah.
and it's so true, because literally everyone like who can create something that I mean is authentic, adds a lot of value in whatever way it does, and obviously has that like I don't know X factor, like something that is I don't know that just like I'm saying content that can go viral. Literally anyone can do that, right?
Yeah.
In today's day and age,
True,
it's
true,
not
true.
like anything stopping you other than the fact that you don't have an idea that's good enough. So I think very interesting. And what about you? What do you think?
No, I completely agree with what he said, but I also see a lot of pitfalls with this, because just mental health, for instance, has taken such a toss because of this particular world we're living in, right? Like everything on the internet can impact you in ways you can't like imagine also. And I know personally I used to be a very positive person, like extremely positive person, and now I know how much that's changed, and it's because of the current world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a double-sided coin, because I feel like creators by nature are people who are very sensitive to the world, and now you're constantly consuming things that are fucking with your brain. So I feel like it's the easiest time to be a creator, because you have access to all these things now, as opposed to like 20 years ago. But it's also very difficult to be in that mental headspace, because you need to put up all these walls to defend.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, and that's why I feel like the whole idea of calm through chaos is so much more relevant than it ever was, right?
Yeah.
Because the media, I mean, it's good and bad, but like we're just not used to that level of stimulation as human beings, where we kind of hear things that like kind of play with our emotions to that extent, like two wars, COVID, XYZ. It's just like like we spoke about that, like it's just not something that we've ever kind of in the history of humanity had to deal with.
And
So-
and the amount of detail we know because of accessibility It's
And
not
that's why,
easy to
like,
consume at all.
That's why like Urban Flux resonated with me so much, because like one of my favorite T-shirts of yours is the meditation is the world's largest free resource. What is that? What it
World's
says?
greatest natural resource.
The world's greatest natural resource, and things like that. Like meditation for me in the past 4 years has been so helpful with mitigating those feelings that you get when you're fucked in the head by something you saw on the internet like
Yeah.
5 minutes ago. So yeah, good on you, man.
Yeah,
Urban Flux.
and yeah, so like I mean, this guy, like I mean, the T-shirt that I'm wearing. So talking about meditation, the whole idea of Calm Through Chaos is that you can't really control your external environment, but the only thing you can control is your response to that
Yeah,
stimuli, right?
Yeah.
Or stimulus or whatever. So like this Vietnamese monk had kind of like self-immolated himself as a form of protest. And from the time he set himself on fire until he turned into ashes, he was just in that state of like calm. And that's why when I came about with the purpose of Calm Through Chaos, this was the first image that kind of flashed in my head. And yeah, I feel like
The image goes so fucking hard.
yeah,
Like it's,
Is it a real image?
yeah,
yeah,
it's,
it's a real
Yeah.
image.
it's
Check
a,
it out,
it's
dude.
a
Damn.
monk who set himself on fire and he's sitting in the middle of the road and
Yeah, and it's by this. It's copyright free. Don't worry, I've not stolen it from anyone. It's been too long, that's why. But the copyright has expired. I mean, I didn't know that when I used it, but still.
yeah,
Oh.
serendipity.
Because, anyways, yeah, I think.
Nice.
So I think we'll wrap.
Yeah, we'll wrap.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for watching. Guys, thank you for being with us,
No, thank
having
you
a
so much
conversation.
for having me,
That
yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We didn't even realize where the time
Yeah,
went.
time has passed a
no,
lot.
It was fun, yeah.
And we'd love to see what you do with Urban Flux.
Yeah, and if you need help making t-shirts, you can always call me.
It's a win.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Take care. Love you. Bye.
Bye.